When the Israelites were freed from Egypt, the first thing that God made sure to do was to get Egypt out of the Israelites. What does that mean? Um, Getting the Israelites out of Egypt was easy. God made miracles, and eventually the Pharaoh's heart was moved, and he freed the Israelites. Yes, he did pursue them, and that failed, but the point is, because of God's intervention, the Israelites were freed. But God had another challenge. You see, the Israelites were slaves of Egypt for 400 years. Some even say more, like 430. And they observed uh, the biggest slavery movie of all time. And in fact, they were at the heart of that slavery movie. They were oppressed, they were abused, they were uh, harmed, they got bullied big time. They were slaves, and they couldn't do anything about it. You know, in psychology, there's a concept called fixation. You become what you observe or what you fixate yourself in. Doesn't matter if it's a positive fixation or if it's a negative fixation. If you are attracted to something, whether it's good for good reasons or for bad reasons, you become that person. And that is why some abused people became abusers themselves, because they become so fixated with their abusers that without them noticing it, they slowly become their abusers themselves. Which is why, if we go to St. Paul's message to the Thessalonians, the first thing that they said to them is they did their best to be models of virtue, of Christianity. Um, and that was not easy. Make no mistake about it. That was hard. If you will read the book of Acts, you will see that they had a lot of challenges. You know, these people were not believers, and not so few times they got beaten up. In fact, Saint Paul was left, for almost dead, more than once. In fact, they left him once because they thought he was dead. That was how badly he was beaten up. Now, he could act out of revenge and say, "Whoa, you guys are so wrong. You deserve to be punished by us people who are right." But no, they did not do that. And in fact, they continued, they persevered until they finally succeeded in converting the people of God. And what they said, "We became models for you. We tried our best to show you the right path of love." But it's still not easy, right? I mean, how can you love your enemies? And Jesus tells us the way. In the gospel today from Matthew chapter 22, verses 34 to 40, Jesus tells us, "Love your neighbors as yourself." Because you don't hurt the one you love. You put the one you love on top of your list. You take care of them, you make sure you give them the best, and you do everything to help them realize their dream, to make them fulfill their best capacity. But even that is hard, right? So, how? The first thing that Jesus said before that was, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind." In other words, God is your object of affection. In other words, we fixate ourselves with God. We focus on God. God becomes our model. If the Israelites had the Egyptians making them slaves as their model, as what they imitate, Saint Paul had God, had Jesus as their model. And Jesus is telling us today, Jesus is telling you that He can be your model, that you fixate yourself on Him, that you look to Him in everything that you do. and you will become like Paul and the other apostles, the other disciples, able to love others, able to be models and inspire others towards God. Maybe you're having a hard time uh, bringing people to God. Continue to inspire them, continue to be models for them. Maybe you're having a hard time becoming a model. Fixate yourself in Jesus Christ. Be a radical fan. Be a fanatic of Jesus. And just as others became who they fixated themselves into, you can become Jesus if you will fixate yourself in Him.